Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome back to my channel, The Value Creation Playbook. My name is Raja Mukherjee. And hey, I wanted to chat with you today about something that I did a couple of months back. And I haven't really talked about this publicly. I asked 12 CFOs, different industries, different geographies, different size businesses, the exact same question. And believe me, only two of them could answer it properly. And I wanted to walk you through what happened because I think it tells you something very important on why margin problems are so hard to fix. The questions were simple, and I don't think it's a capability issue. All these guys are pretty senior in the system. They've been doing this for a long, long time. Here's the question. Same one I asked at the start of almost every conversation I have with a CEO or a CFO. Can you name the single biggest reason your margin is where it is today? Not the number. You all know the numbers, the cause. Most people assume that's an easy question for a CFO because it's literally the job to know this. They do this day in, day out, quarter after quarter. But what I found funny is a lot of them were unable to answer that. 12 conversations, not one, two, 12 of them. And all I got was two clear, confident, specific answers. The remaining were all educated guesses. I think I can call it 10 educated guesses dressed up as an analysis. And I want to be clear, as I was telling you earlier, these were not unsophisticated people. They know the numbers, they have been running the business, and these are experienced business leaders. And some of them lead large businesses. This isn't about incompetence or their lack of eagerness to know what's going wrong. It's about something else. And that's what I want to dig in today. And here's why it matters more than it seems. If you can't name the cause, you can't fix it. It's pretty black and white. It's not fuzzy logic. You can pull levers, pricing reviews, cost programs, working capital drives. But unfortunately, you're pulling all of them in the dark. You don't know if you're pulling the right lever. That is the biggest challenge. It's not about incompetence, it's not about their lack of interest, it's not about their lack of business understanding. It's all about getting the things right at the right moment. And that's exactly what I heard in the 10 out of 12 conversations. Smart people, but pulling levers in the dark. And let me give you the two most common answers I got, because I think some of you will recognize them. The most common one, well, revenues are up, so we must be doing fine. Now, revenue being up is good. Everybody loves the revenue going up. Nobody's arguing with that, but it's not an answer to the question I asked. I asked about margin. Revenue growth and margin health are not the same thing. And conflating them is exactly how businesses end up surprised 18 months later. Or it could even be sooner. You never know. This answer wasn't wrong exactly. It was just answering a different question than the one that I asked. The second one is a more common pattern that I see. If it's not revenue, was the thing left? It's probably something in the costs. This one's interesting because it sounds more specific. It appears that you guys would have done an analysis, and it sounds like an answer. But when I followed up and asked which cost lines, how much, since when, all were vague answers. Almost nobody could go any further. It was a guess, and a reasonable guess, I must admit. I mean, because you have been tracking all these for quite some time, so you have a sense of which way you are traveling, but there's nobody to tell you whether it's an informed guess or you're just walking into a blind, dark alley. But a guess nevertheless, not something that they actually traced and connected to the right margin number. Now, let me tell you about those two guys who got it right. The guys who could answer. Both of them had done one specific thing that the others hadn't. The other 10 hadn't done. They had personally, manually, painstakingly connected the dots themselves across pricing, across cross structures, across working capital, before anybody asked them to do it. One of them had built a spreadsheet that tracked realized prices versus listed price by client, updated quarterly for 3 years. The other one had mapped her cost structure against 3 different growth scenarios, so she would know exactly which lines would become a problem and when. The reasonable accuracy, I must admit. Both of them have built by hand an instrument that the others 10 didn't have. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the gap that I see always. And this is the thing that I keep coming back to. Most CFOs aren't missing intelligence. They are all capable than the two which you just now talked about. What they're missing is an instrument, something that connects pricing, cost, working capital, and execution, which is very important, the daily operational hygiene, which you sometimes forget. So essentially connecting pricing, cost, working capital, and execution into one systemic bucket, which tracks and monitors and tells them continuously what's good and what's not so good that's happening in their business. Which essentially means instead of requiring them to build that connection tissue by hand, they have a living system sitting next to them, which can be their alter ego also to support them in this journey. Just like those two had done manually by hand. Because building it by hand takes years. And most CFOs, unfortunately, don't have years. All they have is quarters to prove their mettle. That gap between reading the connected view and having the time to build it manually is the total problem. And it's a real problem. Not competence. Again, it's not about competence. It's all about having an intelligent system along with the instrumentation sitting next to you. That's the biggest challenge. So this is where I would want you to pay attention to. And if you're listening to this and you are not sure what your answer would be, would it be a part of those 10 or the part of the 2? You are not alone. 10 out of those 12 smart, experienced leaders couldn't either. That's exactly why you have built Profitability Engine. Not to replace what those two CFOs did by hand, but to give everyone the same connected view in 20 minutes instead of 3 years. And it's free. It maps the same connectors, pricing, cost, working capital, execution, and gives you a sequence to fix. And the link is what I mentioned in the description below. If this resonated, try it out for your business. See which of the two camps you fall into. Thanks for watching. Take care, and we speak next week.